This is breaking news.
Good afternoon. I'm Jessica Moore. We are interrupting your programming for an update on a stabbing spree across Manhattan this morning. Let's listen into Mayor Adams as police have made an arrest.
3 innocent New Yorkers who's going about their lives with a victim of a terrible, terrible assault. 2 lost their lives. 1 is fighting for her life. It is a clear example of the criminal justice system and the mental health system that continues to fail New Yorkers. And it is troubling that we're standing here today in a day that brings a great level of difficulty and pain to the city. 3 New Yorkers, unprovoked attacks that left us searching for answers on how something like this could happen. But I want to thank the everyday New Yorker who notified Officer Garvey and told him what he observed. When he saw the assault, he followed the individual involved and gave the information to Officer Garvey, who took quick action and was able to apprehend the person who we believe is a suspect. This investigation is going to continue to unfold, and we want New Yorkers to know that we are not looking for any additional suspects at this time. We believe we have someone in custody, and we are not looking for any additional suspects. Our hearts goes out to the families, goes out to other New Yorkers who observed such a terrible action, and we would keep them in our prayer. But again, I want to thank that New Yorker who saw something, who did something. And because of that, I believe because of the quick actions of Officer Garvey, we have saved the lives of other New Yorkers who could have been the victim of this assault. We'll now turn it over to Interim Police Commissioner Tom Dowling, and then our Chief of Detectives will give you a preliminary and up-to-date on the investigation, what we have thus far.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mayor, and good afternoon, everyone. On behalf of the NYPD, I want to express our deepest sympathy to the 3 people attacked this morning. The senseless violence should never happen, but I want to thank Officer Garvey for his proactive approach to policing, and that is what we stress. We have reactive, but also proactive, and Officer Garvey represents what we've been telling the officers for many, many, many years. But through the swift work of the NYPD officers, this attacker is in custody right now. At this time, there are no other outstanding suspects. I want to thank our 17th and 10th Precinct Patrol officers for their quick and effective response to these incidents. And the detective squads are both commands for what will become a complete and thorough investigation. I also want to thank the members of the public who called 911 and who jumped into action to help their fellow New Yorkers. And finally, thank you to Mayor Adams for his ongoing public support. The mayor is here with us today because he truly cares about the people in New York City, and he understands that public safety is the foundation of everything we do here. Now, we are just beginning to sort through the violence this morning, but New Yorkers should know the NYPD will always be there with our city, and we will continue to fight for safety and security of every New Yorker. For some additional details on these incidents, I'll turn it over to Chief of Detectives, Joe Kenny. Thank you.
Good afternoon. The information
So
I'm about to
again,
give to you is
police
preliminary.
now announcing an arrest in 3 unprovoked attacks. 3 people stabbed across Manhattan this morning, 1 in Chelsea, 1 in Kips Bay, one on the east side. Police tell us they believe the only suspect is now in custody. They're not looking for any other suspects. 2 of those victims are dead. The 3rd victim fighting for their life right now. This has been a CBS News New York special report. We'll have much more on this story beginning at 5 o'clock tonight. You can watch the rest of this news conference streaming on CBS News New York. Now back to your regular programming.
This has been breaking news.
Without warning, he is stabbed in the abdomen. The assault appears to be unprovoked at this time. The perpetrator fled southbound on 9th Avenue. Our victim was removed to Bellevue Hospital, where he was pronounced dead at 8:50 in the morning. Witnesses stated that the perpetrator was a male, light-skinned, in his 60s with a beard. He was wearing a gray shirt and a dark-colored ski hat. Witnesses described the knife as a kitchen knife. Approximately 2 hours later, incident number 2 occurs at 10:27 a.m. at 500 East 30th Street and the East River by the Old Water Club. A male, Asian, 68 years old, who was fishing at the time of the attack, was stabbed multiple times throughout the body. A 911 caller rings the bell and police respond to the location. Unfortunately, our victim is removed to Bellevue Hospital, where he's pronounced dead. 30 minutes later, after this incident, our 3rd and final attack occurs at 10:55 a.m. at 42nd Street and 1st Avenue, right by the UN. Our 3rd victim is described as a female black, 36 years old. She is stabbed multiple times throughout her body. She is brought to Cornell Medical Center, where she is currently in critical condition. A short time later, at 46th Street and 1st Avenue, near the Turkish mission to the UN, police at the scene are alerted by a witness that a possible perpetrator who had just committed a robbery was walking in the area. This male was taken into custody by 17 Precinct Patrol. They recovered 2 large kitchen knives that are covered in blood. His clothing is also covered in blood. This person of interest was brought back to the 10th Precinct Station House for processing. He is a male Hispanic, 51 years old. He appears to be undomiciled. He has 8 prior arrests, last being for a grand larceny, October of this year. Thank you.
All right. Obviously, we still got a lot of work to do with this, but we'll take just a couple of questions. I'll start here on the left. Joe.
Chief, do we have any information as to were words exchanged prior to these interactions with these 2 individuals?
As of right now, these attacks seem to be unprovoked, that he just walked up to them and began to attack them with the knives.
Chief, is it clear, maybe for yourself and the mayor, can you elaborate on the failed system movement wrong here? Was he out on bail, on a bail eligible case or a non-bail eligible case?
First, I want to acknowledge the presence of Councilman Powers and Councilman Boucher. These both impact their areas. We are still looking over his record, but there's a real question on why he was on the street. It's preliminary now, but he was sentenced a few months ago. And there's some real questions that we need to look at on why he was on the street, and he has some severe mental health issues that should have been examined, and that's what we're looking at as part of the investigation.
ABC.
Can you go into the witness you mentioned that saw something, what he told Officer Barton? Is it Barton?
Yeah, so the witness is a cab driver. He witnesses the 3rd attack of the female. He believed it to be a robbery. He didn't know that she was stabbed. So he began to follow her, thinking that he was a robbery suspect.
The cab driver?
The cab driver, yes.
And the purple backpack that's at 46th and 1st, is that the victim's backpack? Is that why?
That's part of our investigation.
10-10.
Can you talk about when Officer Harvey stepped in?
What was the question again?
Just when you started noticing something unusual and stepped in.
I just heard a commotion from where I was, stepped outside, heard what people were saying, and reacted.
What were people saying?
No comment on that.
Chief, were there any robbery attempts on any of the victims at all?
No, like I said, we're sorting through additional witness statements and video, but at this time, no words exchanged, no property taken, just attacked and stabbed viciously.
Mark. No, let the chief walk you through.
Once he was alerted that this perpetrator was possibly involved in a crime, thinking that maybe it was a robbery, he detained him. And obviously at this point, information's coming over the radio. The detective squad gets involved. We start putting the pieces together to realize it's part of the three attacks that had taken place that morning.
Dean?
Did the suspect say anything?
Hold on. And I think that we cannot overemphasize. Here, this officer made an apprehension of a person that took the life of two individuals, and he didn't know what he had. He responded, and we cannot overemphasize how much when these officers come to the scene of a crime or someone tells them that someone carried out a violent act, these officers respond to that act. And you know, it just goes to show you after 19 years of service, there's still a commitment to ensure that the people of this city are safe. And when you don't know what you are responding to, you have an individual who had those weapons, and you know, this officer put himself in harm's way to make sure he could stop others from being harmed. If Officer Garvey was not there, these random acts of violence, this person conceivably would have continued those random acts of violence. So he saved the lives of fellow New Yorkers.
Two more. Dean?
Did the suspect say anything in regards to any statements when he was arrested, or do you have any idea what his motivations might have been?
Not at this time.
James?
Okay. Just can you the last stabbing was by the UN. There was a line of diplomatic vehicles, motorcade. Can you talk any more about the Secret Service's involvement in this situation?
I can't speak for another agency. I can just speak to what the NYPD did in this case. I know there were other people out on the scene that assisted, but at this time I can't speak to what the Secret Service may have done.
Are any of the victims dignitaries at this time? Do we know that?
They are not.
All right, last question.
The last two places where the attacks happened are pretty close, and you have evidence that he walked. Do we know how he got from 19th Street over? And also, was he just walking with the knives out, or did he conceal them and pull them out?
From the video that we see as of right now, we have video of him with the knives out. But as at this point, our investigation is preliminary. It appears that he was traveling by foot.
All right, thank you, everybody.
Thanks. Thank you.
This has been breaking news.